In progress.
Oh, hello, everybody. Welcome back. This is Vanessa Donaldson. I am co-hosting with Barbara Ellison, who you won't see on the screen right now because, just like life happens, the whole computer screen system shut down, quit on her. So she is not coming on. Maybe she will pop in at the end, but you'll catch her another time. But in the meantime, we do want to get on with our show because we have all these military people in our house. It's military community, and it is Monday, right? I like to say Military Monday. So shout out to Military Monday. Thank you so much, however you're all connected with the military. And we wanted to talk about something that went out in our flyer, and it was all about redefining success, maybe on our own terms. The military kind of defined our success and had us on a path before we all left the military in whatever way. So we're going to go around and hear from these people and all their connections to how they were in the military and what they're doing now. So let me just start with Sean. I think he was in the backstage first, so I'm going to reach out to him and let me know here for your backstory. So what were you doing? We'll just go around first for everybody, like what were you doing in the past in your military capacity? We'll get everybody through that way, and then we'll move on to two different phases. What were you doing in your military life?
First of all, thanks for putting this together. This is great. Nice little form we have here. So I was a military intelligence analyst my entire career. I did 20 years in the Army and retired.
That's a long time. Okay. Wow. He summed up, look how humble. He just summed up 20 years in like a one-liner. It's like, okay, that's it. Yeah, that's our military. So, okay.
Absolutely.
That's about it. There, you've got the background on him, so I like that. We're just going to be straight to the point. So, and some of us are military, the active duty or the retiree. Some of us are spouses. Some of us were spouses. So I'll pass the torch. Male, female. We'll go on to Katie now. What was your connection with the military, Katie?
So I was married, now divorced, but so spouse, and then mom, special needs mom. So big deal there. I made the sacrifices on the other side of the fence.
Yes, I love that. And not just, I wouldn't say normal family, but a challenge family. I mean, dealing with the whole special needs. And what was that program? We're going to go into military jargon today. I love my acronyms. What was the special needs? It was like E something.
Echo.
Echo?
Echo was one of them. Yeah.
Okay. They've all kinds of acronyms for special needs and all that. So thank you for being on the backfield. I mean, my collaborative book I wrote was all about my story with meeting my retired Marine in Africa in the Peace Corps when he was Marine Security Guard. But I called it the back end battlefield because the women in the back, it's a battlefield too. We're trying to manage everything. So thank you for being with us. I will move on to Phil. Phil, thanks for joining. It's been a while. Tell us about your story. How did you connect with the military? And what did you do in the military?
Well, I started when I was 17, and I want to thank you for having this forum and everybody on here that are contributing to the overall vision and understanding of how now we're dealing with the civilian life. My background is I got into law enforcement. I was a civilian police officer in Ohio, went active duty to broaden my horizons because I realized that there's so much more out in this world. But I got into also civil affairs, a little bit of human intelligence, and then emergency management, and realizing that we all work together, and without each other, we couldn't accomplish any mission.
I love it. Thank you. That's a great intro. I mean, it just shows you how much diversity there is in the military, all the different things people have done, but he hit on it, the key point there. It's community. We're in it together. We're the mission first. So now we're on the side of maybe not mission first. It's my life first and what I want to do. So I will pass it to Elise now. She's been on the back end trying to help with techie stuff. So thank you, Elise. Tell us your connection with the military. How did you get involved? Phil was 17. He might be the youngest in the group. I don't know. How old were you and how did you end up in the military?
Well, I left Indiana and traveled out here to where I am now in Virginia. I attended the Virginia Military Institute and started out in Army ROTC. Found out really quickly that the Air Force had more comfortable PT gear, among other attributes, and decided to switch into the Air Force and was awarded a scholarship to finish my studies. So I went into the Air Force after college. They trained me to be a logistics officer, and I saw the world from a little base called Altus, Oklahoma.
Wow. I love it. I love it. So for the sake of time, I mean, these are military people. They know, like, what do you need me to answer? Here it is, short, and move on. So there's the backstory. My backstory, I think I just mentioned earlier, meeting my husband overseas. I was in the Peace Corps, living in a mud hut with sand floors, building wells in Africa. And he was Marine security guard. So that's our connection. And I think my mom even was confused. She's like, do you love the guy or like the house he's in, that nice big house? Because I'm coming out of a mud hut to have like hamburgers and hot dogs on 4th of July. Or is it maybe like the uniform? Like, are you really liking the guy? I'm like, Mom, I think you raised me to look for character and other things beyond the hot dog and the hamburger and the uniform. But that's how it all started over there. So that's how I was completely blind. My father was in the Army, but I didn't even know much of it. He passed away when I was younger, and I never had those conversations with him. So I had no idea what I was getting into, and thought, okay, whatever. It's just another regular guy, regular job. And no, it wasn't like that. Right after marriage, and then a baby, and then he's like, okay, I got to take off for about 6 months of going on this deployment thing. I literally said, a D what? I had to have him repeat the word. A D what? What is that? He said, a deployment. I said, well, what's that? And he's just like nonchalant. Oh, well, I'm going to hop over to San Diego. I'm going to get on one of those, big Navy vessels, and we're going to do some donuts. That's what he said. Do donuts around the Middle East. And I'm thinking, like, have donuts? I'm just totally off track. What do you mean do donuts? Float around the Middle East donuts. And then, 6 months later, I'll be back home. And I was just like with a baby in my hands. So there's my story from the military side. And I guess I would end by saying, for me, it was all about being a dependent at that point. It was like, get your dependent ID. You're now a dependent. You're the spouse, and you're the dependent, and you've got this ID to get on base, and you need his social security for everything. And everything had a real sense of dependency, like almost like in a negative effect, where I just start to feel like I'm just a dependent. Just show up and be in the background and be the dependent. That's my role. So that's cliffhanger for later, but that dependent ID is going to change to something else in the future. So decision story section now, back to Sean. So when did you know that something had to change with, what you're doing, maybe as you're transitioning out of the military, having some new epiphanies of what you want to do, spending your time, what you're going to get up and be excited to do for the rest of your life? When did that shift, and what did it shift you into? Now he's smiling and laughing. I don't know.
Still trying to figure that out. So everybody I ever talked to in the military said, you'll know exactly when it's time to retire. And I surely did. I knew it was my time to go, time to get out. So that piece happened on its own, So once I made that decision, then, tried to set myself up for as much success as I could through the transition process. And it started with really jumping into LinkedIn and getting into different transition programs. The first one I actually did was not affiliated with the military. It was actually a civilian one. And that changed my mindset right from the beginning. And so through that, I got into doing a lot of stuff on LinkedIn. I started doing videos on LinkedIn. And my mentor from that program's like, hey, you need to do a podcast. No, I don't. But he kept pushing and pushing. And so we got to talking about it. And so he had this one idea. It wasn't for me. And after a couple of weeks, I came back with, there's all these transition organizations, and we don't know, we're not told about any of them, So when we're transitioning out, you hear about one or two from a friend. Maybe if you go to one of the big ones, you may hear about 10, 20 more. And so you start to gather all this knowledge. So, we got to talking and said, why don't we do a transition focused podcast where we can actually, try to educate people and teach them about the organizations that are out there available to help them. And he loved it. And his partner actually used to be, or was a Air Force veteran. So he came on board to help me get started. And that's how we started it. And basically we just focus on the transition space and trying to educate those coming behind us, as well as, current veterans and military spouses, because a lot of these programs help everybody. And there's some organizations out today that are only post 9/11. So finding those ones that handle more than just post 9/11 is a big deal to the veteran community. And So we started doing it. We enjoy it. We get great feedback, and hopefully we're helping a lot of people along the way.
I love it. And the podcast has a catchy title too, SOS something, right?
Vet SOS.
Vet SOS. Let's put the veteran in there. Yes, Vet SOS. So that's very cool. So check that podcast out, guys. And yeah, thank you for sharing that. It's very honest too, like still figuring it out. After the military has told us what to do and where to go for decades, you don't just wake up and have it all figured out. It's a process, and you lean on a lot of people. I think you mentioned the word mentor. So having a mentor is huge. You don't have to do it alone. Sean had a mentor who kept pushing him out of his comfort zone. I mean, how many times he probably said, "Nah, I'm not doing that podcast. Nah, I'm not doing that." And now look, he's doing it. He's impacting other people. He's thriving with that message. So thank you. But yeah, definitely don't discount mentors in your life. You got to be coachable. If you're going to do everything your way and my way or the highway, it might not work out as well, or do a different path. But if you can be coachable, all kinds of doors can open. So thank you for sharing that, Sean. Katie, what was your decision point? I don't know if it probably came around with a divorce and redefining yourself on your own terms or whatever. So what decision point changed what you were doing from a spouse to what you're doing today? And dive a little into what you are doing today, because you're doing amazing work in the civilian world.
Thank you. Yeah. Now, actually, it started much earlier than the actual divorce. When my son was first diagnosed with a few of his mental disabilities, some of the background information from my ex-husband and the way he responded to those things made me fully aware that at some point I was going to be responsible for taking care of not only myself, but my two kids, and did a whole lot of research, took advantage of some of those spouse support programs and that while he was still active duty, and went from life coaching to VA, which is virtual assistant, and then realized that so many of the clients that came to me had the knowledge, they had the skills, and they had a fairly good idea of what they wanted to do. But the biggest hurdle they had was actually implementing those ideas, those concepts, and their skills and talents into a working business. And so Omni Media Designs was born, and I actually provide the tools and the training so that people can get in and do the back end of their business, put those things into place, whether it's kits, programs, templates, whatever it might be, so that they're no longer working on their business, they're working in their business, or vice versa. I always get those two confused, but it's basically that implementation. So you've got all these gurus out there teaching people that you need the website, you need the sales funnel, you need the products and the services and all the rest of it. But so many small business owners and entrepreneurs don't know how to make those things a reality on the tech side of it. And that's where we step in and we help people, like I said, with the tools, the kits, and all those other things. And it's also one of those things, the business was created because of my son's mental disabilities. I had to be able to be home with him and to have the freedom of my schedule to take care of him and to take care of his needs. Found out again that there's special needs moms, and more than half of the families that come out of the military have special needs family members. And so helping those spouses, helping the service members themselves, the vets, to have that ability to create a business where they can be home to take care of their family, that doesn't have to be that job. So that's where I came from. That's where I'm moving forward. And that's where I support others in their growth through their business. So
That's so powerful, because a lot of us seem to leave the military world, and like my husband said, I'm not working for anybody ever again. So it's like, well, what are we doing? So we kind of become our own solopreneur. I didn't even know what that word meant for a while. I'm like, now I'm living it for 3 years, like solopreneur. So yeah, we could have all these ideas with what we want to implement, but then the action steps to get there. I mean, y'all, I've had a one-on-one with Katie. We were just getting to know each other from another podcast, and the information she gave me in that 45 minutes, my eyes were crossing, and I'm like, whoa, like a whole new light on how I need to be doing some things with my business. So definitely, I mean, she knows what she's talking about. And so it's so exciting that to be connected with you and to have you in that space, because it's so needed. I don't know how many of us veterans and spouses are floating around out there, and we keep kind of maybe hitting our head on the wall, doing the wrong thing, moving our business, not growing, not moving. And, everybody wants to have that success after retirement too, in a different capacity. So we need people like you to help get that through. And just to think, because I guess I'm a life coach too, and I've done positive intelligence, like everything is a gift and opportunity. So you had your son, special needs, and like, look at the gift that kind of came out of it, like without any of that, none of this would have come to fruition. So everything is a gift and an opportunity, guys, to stay in the positive and move forward. So thank you for sharing that, Katie. And we will go on to Phil now with what was a key defining moment there that you realized something had to change with the way you were living and what you were doing right after you got out of the military?
Well, one of the things that brought me to it is going to combat. Being going over there military in 04, 05, I trained the Iraqi police at the Baghdad Police Academy, which was a phenomenal opportunity. I got to see how the system works and my integral part into it. And then when I went back as a contractor, I got to see behind Wizard of Oz's curtain. And oh my gosh, it was an enlightening experience to realize that, oh my God, I do have choices and I'm doing great and wonderful things in a combat zone. And then when I came back, no one would hire me. They told me that I was way overqualified because a lot of the hiring managers and everything that I mean, I have a master's degree and combat experience and civilian contract experience in a hostile environment that I felt comfortable in because everything I've done in my life has led up to being able to create and sustain myself in the most inhospitable places on the planet. And now come back here, civilian life's boring. We don't have that excitement. And what I wanted to do was get them out of that warrior mindset and into a love mindset. Because if you love things, you'll find more, or I find that I have more passion for it. I want to learn, I want to develop. And I was like some of the other panelists, I don't want to, I don't want to do that, but you got to take the steps, take a couple steps back and see the bigger picture and realize those podcasts, those, this, what we're doing right now, all contribute to you understanding how I fit in or anybody fits into a regular normal life. And I think that's what a lot of veterans and first responders have a problem with. It's I'm not part of that anymore. And now what do I do? Oh, well, because money's never been my motivator. But once you get out in the civilian world, you realize you can't do much without money and that progress and getting your message out there of finding peace and harmony within myself first was a life changer. Because I went through equine therapy. I've done a lot of other things through Wounded Warrior Project and Team Rubicon, Hooves. It all builds upon each other, and you don't realize, oh my gosh, there's so much more I don't know. Because we were experts in the military. Everything that we did was to progress our rank and positioning and opportunities that we have. And the civilian side, they don't understand it and don't care in the same capacity we do. And you got to humble yourself. You got to throw your ego and pride out the window. That helped you survive in the military setting, but it's counterproductive in the civilian setting because a mass majority of people don't know what it's like to be shot at or to see things. I've seen hordes of humanity. Now I choose to be part of the light and peace and understanding and sharing the love because it gets me so much further in peace of mind and knowing that I don't have to do anything I don't want to do anymore. And having that power and understanding that education plays a big part in it. And what I found in the civilian side, 90 probably about 95% of the time, it's about who you know. And you can't know anybody sitting on your couch wallowing in self-pity. Now
Mm.
you got to go, well, I've accomplished all this. Everything I do now, it's, let's see where it goes. And being able to connect and have an open mind. And you know what? Love everybody. I don't have to like you. But if I love you for who you are, I might not agree with everything that you do, but together we create a community of like-minded individuals wanting the best for our families and our kids and everything to come together and thrive in our daily lives. And the past doesn't matter. It's what we do right now, today, and getting on podcasts like this and expressing our true thoughts and feelings that we get to make not a change, but an enlightenment and an understanding that what do you do when everybody thinks they're right?
Mm.
Oh, and because in the military we didn't have that. It's you're told to do it, you do it. You can gripe about it as much as you want while you're doing it, but you are going to do it one way or another, either happy or not.
Okay.
And finding that in the civilian sector is what I've done for the last several years. It helps me define who I and better have self-awareness and what I can control and letting go of everything I can't.
Mm.
Because too many people worry about minute stuff that has nothing to do with them, but yet they're going to let it affect how they respond to outside stimuli that they're currently going through. Well, it's all temporary.
Mm. I
Me
love that.
being, and that's what we look at in life, and it's come together in creating the livable cities that we need to survive and thrive in today's world.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Phil. Wow, there was so many nuggets. I'm gonna have to find a way to record this so we can reshare this because he just kind of gave a whole humble. I think it was like a journey of a military veteran. A lot of us have that. A lot of you guys have that same feeling, the same emotions that you went through, and you put it so eloquently, and how you were feeling in all the steps of the way, and what you're doing with it now to make it a better world for yourself, and all this self work you've done on yourself. I'm so proud. We met like a few years ago, and you've just been doing all kinds of self work. So I'm so impressed. I would interject too when you said the civilians don't care. I am in a women's group, Women Who Lead, and it's her whole purpose. Kathy Vanguard business. She actually is trying to connect the veterans to the civilian side so that civilians know how to work and manage and respect and find that fine line between us. It's not that they don't want to help, they just don't know how. So her entire mission is finding tools to help civilians. They're actually doing a summit in Arizona, which I'm helping plan in October, where they're really connecting with the civilian community, and they're trying to help so they can bridge that gap and show civilians, this is what we need from you. This is how we operate. This is what helps us. So civilians do want to help. It's just if they don't know how, it might come across that they don't care. But just wanted to interject that. And it's a great segue going into Elise, because I know she's written a book, and I've had podcasts with her too on just communication and behavior. So she probably can, her head was nodding a lot when Phil was talking, because she's been in that space too. So Elise, tell us a little about when you transitioned out of the military and where that brought you to.
So my transition, oh dear, can you hear an echo, or is that just me?
It's fine. Keep talking.
Okay. When I transitioned out, I made the decision to turn down orders, which for an officer ends a career. And I did that to take control of my life and marry someone who was also in the Air Force. When I separated, I got out, I finished my MBA and moved to the DC area where my husband and I were going to start our life together. He had just signed another contract to be in. He'd gotten a bonus to stay in the contracting career field for another 5 years. We thought this was going to be the future, the rest of our life. only to find about 6 months after that, we'd bought our first house, we're starting to settle down, and he gets orders that he is being rifted. Bonus to get out. Bonus to stay in, bonus to get out. You get to keep both bonuses. That's kind of like your severance pay. But so we're just starting our life together, and really we had to that was a pivot. And that was a huge pivot. And it's gone so well, but when I think back to like what was that transition like, there was so much uncertainty and so much. Now we're both looking for a job and we have a house, and this isn't where either of us are from, so our network is not strong, and all these different pieces. We were very blessed and lucky to also be in the DC area where there is lots of work for contracting and logistics officers. So we found employment rather quickly, but there's still that uncertainty. And I think a lot of times when we talk about transition, people say, have a plan, follow the plan. The plan doesn't always go as you envision it. And I think Phil and the others have touched on this. You have to be ready for those constant changes, because the plan I had when I separated from the military was not the same as when we transitioned my husband out of the Air Force. And I wouldn't say that there is one pivotal moment where we decide to thrive or we decide to strive for what's more. I think that we come up against those decisions frequently. And it's something that you continue to come up against when if you're like me and you struggled with the feeling like you'd left people in the war zone, like you'd left people there and you'd abandoned them. That was something I had to deal with and confront. And it wasn't till many years after my transition that I did that I was able to come to terms with, like, no, I completed my service. I did everything I was supposed to do. And they're being taken care of, just like I'm being taken care of, and making those best decisions for myself now. A couple of years ago, when I wrote the book, Business Not Battle, for nonprofit boards, it kind of was another pivot for my career, for my life, for my focus and everything, that I'm going to now take this mindset of mission focused, which we all learn in the military, and I'm going to help nonprofits get mission focused, because it's in that focus that I think they can be truly successful. And I think that goes for veterans and military spouses as well. You have to have a clear understanding of what the mission is that you're trying to achieve, and then you take steps to achieve it. Sometimes that mission pivots and you have to change your strategy, but that's okay.
Thank you. Thank you. So well said. I'm just appreciative of everybody being so honest and humble. Like, we're not trying to come out here and be like, we got it all figured out and we just transitioned and went into this. No, it's all learning and growing together. And we want to share that. Hopefully we share that energy and that message with other people out there. Like, you're not alone, and everybody's going to find their own path, and it's going to be okay. But just be open, to things not being okay all the time. So appreciate the insights there. For myself, the decision story kind of changed. And when we got out of the military, we got out about 10 years ago, and then we still were in California. So we wanted to get our kids to the same high school if possible. We're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. We don't have to move for the next 2 years again and go through 3 different middle schools and high school. Let's stay in one place. So we decided to stay in Southern California, right outside of Camp Pendleton Marine Corps Base. And once our youngest, we had 2 kids, and the youngest was getting ready to leave the nest, and we started talking about what's our life going to look like after the military. And my husband had already been out for a few years. We had not taken advantage of his VA disability claim thing, which that's my, what I lead into now. I help vets with their claims, but he was just ready to get on with his life. He's like, whatever, paperwork, whatever. I'm going to go paddleboard. I'm going to go fish. And so everything was nature and getting out on the ocean and the water. And that's where he found his peace. And so after time, I went back to work full time when he got out, because I'm like, oh, that's weird. 2 of us in the house, and here, you stay home with the kids and deal with, latchkey kids and all that. I'm going to go play in the office. So I ended up working for a solar company doing project management. And I got out of the house every day, and he was home, and he loved it. He had years of trying to reconnect and rebond with those kids from those years of separation. Kids, teenage years, middle school, not so much. They come home and they're whispering to me, is Dad getting a job again? Why is Dad home? Yeah, Dad's staying home. Nope, there's no, you are Dad's job now. So that was an adjustment. We're not talking a lot about the kids. I'd love to at some point have a whole series on the youth, because those poor kids, they have like no voice. They just like, get in the car, pack your bag, get your little, suitcase. Yep, get the pink thing with that, put your doll in there. Let's go. It's just, they have to move around with us, but they've had to live with that too. So they've got a voice that they need to share. So what I noticed when he was so happy on the water and he got a little fishing boat, I said, we can't keep this hidden. This is like too good. And we're Christian. I said, we got to shine a light on this space. This is doing amazing work for you, connecting with nature on the water. Like, what if we bring another family out here in the first? Why would we do that? That's great. No, we have to. And that kind of goes into Elisa's nonprofit world. It became more of a ministry for us. And I'm like, negative Nelly's like, oh, you're going to get sued. Someone's going to slip and fall on that banana peel. And, and what are you going to do when that happens? And so I just went forward, and I saw a lady suffering at the school because we all had a lot of base kids right off the base going to the high school. And she said, my husband just came back, and he was deployed for months. He's back now, and he has not left his room. He's totally medicated. He goes to the VA for his medication, comes home. The shades are closed. She's just describing classic depression. And all I could say was, would you like a boat ride? Can we get your family out for some fresh air and a boat ride? And it just lit up her eyes. She said it was the first time the family was together in one space, and it's a small space. So it's like therapy when you're on a 21-foot boat, and, it's not a yacht where everybody goes to their own room and, close the door with their cell phone. No. And there's no cell phone coverage sometimes when you go further out. And when I got that thank you card from her after we took him out for the day, and I think I reached out to like a couple community restaurants, does somebody want to participate, help a veteran, give us some donuts, some coffee. Community want to help. You just have to be out there and voice it. I had a lady show up with donuts and coffee for us all, just standing there like, hi, just want to be part of your ride out tonight or today. And she gave us coffee and donuts to take on the boat. I've had a Jimmy John's, different groups would donate sandwiches. And it was a wonderful community sharing thing. And once they went out and I got that card that just poured out thanks, I said, oh, well, I think this is needed. I think we're going to keep doing this. And we ended up doing it for 3 years, one family after another, building these relationships on the water. I remember my husband got to the point, he'd be at church and he'd call me and be like, I'm not going to be home, babe. I just met this young Marine. Yep, he's shipping out like in a few weeks. His family's here. We're putting him on the boat right now. I'm taking him out to get on the water right now before he leaves. And I'm like, I love that. So now we're harvesting memories before they deploy. So they have that to hang on to. It's just another positive family memory to hang on to, recent family memory that they can hang on to until Dad comes back. So we started doing that, and then the pandemic shut that down all overnight. That's where the pivot was. We went up in the van, left the boat, and just did the van life for about 8 months. The world was on lockdown. We were like, we're not locking down. We found a used Sprinter van. We found tenants for our place in California, and we were out. And that was it. It was 8 months of exploring America. Neither of us had been to America. So we explored America. We went through national parks. It was really quiet and desolate, which was like a great year to do camping because there was no crowds. Oh my gosh, there was no side by side next to you. It was like, wow, it's just us and the bison out here in one of the Dakotas. It was amazing. So through that, there was a lot of rebirth, repivoting of what we're going to do next. Where are we going to end up? Like we literally didn't know. We stayed in Montana for a month, catching brookie trout. We're just taking our time going through America. And then when it got a little too cold for my blood, we ended up in Florida, further south. And so the ministry part is still something on the back. I would like to build that up again on the Florida side. My husband's like, I need to learn the waters here more before I bring other people on and get his captain's license again and Florida and all that. But that's how I got into life coaching and doing something, moving away what I mentioned before, that dependent ID to more independent. It's like I have an independent ID now because Vanessa has some things she wants to do, and my husband's poor thing, like what's she up to now? What's my wife doing now? Because I'm full of ideas. And that's what I do. I'm becoming independent. I've worked on myself with the whole self-worth, self-growth stuff. And when you do that and you're coaching other people, you're coaching yourself. So I have a platform for military spouses. That's my ministry, coaching military spouses that are transitioning and just empowering them, encouraging them, motivating them with whatever line of work they are, resources, so that I know people like you. Hey, someone's starting a small business. I know where they can go, Katie. Someone's talking nonprofit, Elise. Oh, podcast, got to send to Sean. Phil, he's the expert on positive intelligence. So like EQ, right? Emotional intelligence. So everybody, yeah, it's all the circle, but that's how I ended up doing, getting into this field of sharing and impacting. Because if I'm just, like Phil said, if we're on a couch or sitting by ourselves, not communicating, no one's going to hear the message. No one's going to know where to find you. So we're all out there. But again, the pandemic, something that could have been seen very negative, taking over and turn it into something with a new, living purpose and an independent state of mind. So that's what I would share with there. So are we like just down to the last few minutes? I know some of us have another call here, huh? We got like 10 more minutes or so. So let's just end with going around again one more time on someone's, listening to this little message here, this podcast today, and they're just kind of stuck. We might, all of us are dealing, I think, with a lot of stuck minds, stuck communities. What would be, Sean, starting with you, a takeaway that you got from our conversation and something you'd want to leave with someone else that's struggling, that's in a stuck season?
I think the thing that pulled from this conversation is community. Every one of us has a different story. We all come from a different background, different education, skill sets, and yet we're all still here on the same call, sharing information. So that the community is fantastic that we have, and we need to use it more. And the thing that I try to tell any transitioning service member is we don't transition alone. You're not going through this by yourself. You're not the only person that's ever gone through it. We can, if you're struggling with something, I guarantee you I can probably find you at least 10 people that went through the exact same thing. Because that everybody's transition is unique to them. However, there's a lot of similarities that we go through that we need to come together and help each other and support each other, and hopefully cut down on some of the negative stuff that winds up happening because of the stress and the struggle, and just helping people understand that they are not alone, and to reach out to people. Reach out to me. I'll share any resource I know about.
How can people reach you, Sean?
The easiest way to do it is through our website, vetsospodcast.com. There's a connect with us thing on there. You can go ahead and click on there. My link tree is also on there under the bio stuff, so you can shoot me a note that way as well. And or through LinkedIn. Just reach out over LinkedIn, connect over LinkedIn, and we can chat. We can set up a video call, phone call. I can connect you with a bunch of people. It's, if I know them, you can know them. It's that easy.
Excellent. And we're going to put more messaging in our LinkedIn because this is a new link from the past one. So we want to get all our messaging out there for people to connect with us. We'll do that retroactively, like pay sometime in the VA, just the retroactive stuff. So Katie, takeaway for the group today.
I just reiterate what Sean said, and I'm pretty sure what everybody else is going to say, is that alone we can do so little, but together we can do so much. And there's strength and hope in community, and it doesn't matter who you surround yourself with. Just make sure you surround yourself with people that are going to lift you up. They're going to in my community, they laugh at me once I fall down, but then they reach out a hand and help me stand back up again. The longer you get to know me, the weirder I get. But anyway, just make sure that you're surrounding yourself with people who are willing to get in the trenches with you. That's the key to it. You've got so many people who are, I'm there for you, but the minute you call them up and ask for it, they're nowhere to be found. So if you're willing to do it, find the people who are willing to do with you.
I love it. I love these nuggets. Phil, take away.
Oh, the takeaway is that we're all in this together. It's not just like you're saying, there's spouses, there's children, everybody's affected by the mindset of the service member and how they perceive themselves in this world. And we don't take into consideration the effects that we have, that my choices have on my wife and my kids. And like you were saying, they don't have a choice. Well, it boils down to is me getting out of that warrior mindset of destroy, kill. Now it's, oh, how about let's love everybody? And my wife, my current wife, and her mother has taught me what love really is. And I think that's something that we miss because we're so worried about the next thing or moving on or doing whatever. But we never look at it as, oh, my actions do affect other people. And the way I talk to my kids and my wife and my family and everything, is it pushing them away or bringing them closer to where, hey, I can't tell you how Vanessa lived. She can. But I can understand the trials and tribulations that she went through. And I can respect that we're all people. We're all just trying to make it in this world the best way we possibly can and having hope for the future, because what you do today will directly affect what happens tomorrow. And my biggest thing was getting out in the community.
Yes. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. I'm sorry, Kate, I forgot to ask how people can reach you before we pass the torch to Phil, but you've got it on there, Omni Media Designs.
Yep.
.com.
Yep.
Perfect. Okay, so you've got that on there. And Phil, how do people reach you?
Oh, you can go on my website, ailsolutions.com, or LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram,
Perfect. We're all
any
there.
social media I could get out there to get the word out. Because in my mind, I don't think anybody cares. But when you push it out into the universe, you'll find out, oh my God, there's so many more people that are thinking the same thing. And we realize that, we're not alone. We have so many more people involved.
Thank you. Thank you. Elise. Oh, we got one leaving. Thank you, Sean. We'll catch up after. He's got another call. Thank you so much. Elise, take away for you.
So I think what I'd like everyone to take away, and I agree with the community aspect of this, we go into a transition into these different phases of life with really good intention. And what I find in those times is that it's really easy to get distracted, and you find yourself, something's bright and shiny. Ooh, what's it? Oh, and all these different things. And what you run into is spending so much time focusing on those distractions that you miss out on what's really important. You miss out on the mission of what you're trying to accomplish. And so that's one of the things that I like to talk about, I like to share, and I like people to walk away with. When I talk about business, I define that as the mutually beneficial exchange of products, services, and ideas. We're all in business of some sort. Your mission is your business, whatever way you want to layer a meaning on top of that. It is easy to get distracted by battles, by putting out the fires that come up every day. By tackling those distractions, you allow yourself to be taken away from business and you get stuck in battle. And so what I like to remind people is that they can be in business if they choose to. They can choose their mindset, like Philip would say. They can choose their mindset. They can choose to be in business and not in battle. And then I also like to remind people that they have the power. They can ignite, inspire, and grow other people wherever they go. Those are my takeaways.
And how do people reach you, Elise?
Connect with me on LinkedIn is the easiest way. Send me a message. Look forward to connecting.
Excellent. Well, I will just end with, yeah, when you find something you get excited and passionate about, and you can focus on that more, other things maybe fall to the wayside, and it's okay. You got to let go of some things to bring in something new. And for me, it's helping vets with their VA disability claims. There's nothing more exciting when I get a text on my phone saying, 100%, thank you. Yeah, and I'm like, oh, it's a long process, but we get it done in like 4 or 5 months with the company I work with. So doing that just gets me excited I get those. I mean, I never thought I'd get excited. I'm training on disability, like reading these medical charts and plans and diagnostic codes. And I'm like, what do we have today? What can we work with today? And it's just so exciting to see that I can help somebody, because it's so sad, and especially in the Port Charlotte area, a lot of Vietnam vets and vets that, I mean, they lost limbs, they served their country, they did some crazy stuff, and then got spat on when they came back. At least over time, like we tried to set up things so that we had some more, positive counseling and stuff. But when you get spat on for coming back after serving your nation, and then they're like, I'm okay with 10%, that's cool with me. It's $171 for life, maybe because the wife is working full time. Well, things change. I'll get a call back when the wife gets laid off or something. And then, wow, that $171 is really not much. And my wife was making all the money. And now we have no income. And they think about, well, maybe, my hearing thing that went on, and then my knee that blew out, and maybe I should look into this again. So doing the VA claims is what I'm focusing on now. And people can always reach out to me at resetwithvanessa.com and do an audit, a complimentary audit, to just look at your case and see where you're at and where you maybe can go. Because what I want, like all of you guys, is just to thrive on the other side. I call it, we touched on back end battlefield at the beginning, but now we want to get to blissful retirement. Like, what does retirement season look like to you? Even if you're not fully retired, like, where do you want to spend your time when you get up? What lights you up? What you want to do for your legacy, for your children, your grandkids? What are you setting up? What are you taking action on? Because people are watching, whether you think they're watching you sitting on the couch or watching you doing what you're doing, impacting others. People are still watching. Your family's watching, nieces, nephews. So just take that time and reach out for resources if you're stuck and confused with where you want to go next, and be open to your next season. So hopefully we brought some value to our audience today. Thank you guys for staying with me, staying connected, as our fearless host, Barbara, got taken up by cybersecurity. So we'll catch her another time. But thank you all. And to be continued, we can message, and people can add stuff into the LinkedIn. It'll be a continuous thread. So I will sign off from Your Life Beyond the Military for now. And Barbara Ellison's post, or her podcast, was on striving to thriving. And I can just see these people, these military community, they're striving everywhere. And that build your community has been like such a topic theme for me over the past few months. And you've just reaffirmed it all too, like, takeaway. Yeah, community. So I say now to people, find your community, find your tribe, find your people. Like, we're not meant to be with everybody all the time, but find your people, and just go back and hit the record and replay, because lots of nuggets in here. Thank you all for joining. I'm going to end this session, and you all stay with me backstage here. I'm playing like a real TV show here. Bye, everybody.
Progress. Progress.